The other thing that you two ladies talk about, and I want to be so sure that we talk about this today too, is culture fit versus culture add. Fascinating. Would one of you speak to what you mean?
Sure, I'll take that. And then Teresa has a lot to say about this too. We talk about this all the time. I think we all like to work with people that we could have a beer with. But at the end of the day, someone you could have a beer with doesn't necessarily get the job done. And so I really think there's an opportunity to help people understand their unconscious bias, understand that, when you do that, you really limit yourself to bringing in people who have different opinions, different perspectives, different experiences that can add value. So I always say, one thing that gets me, and Teresa and I joke about this all the time, is a lot of times in the past, I've had hiring managers saying, I don't want to hire that person because that person didn't smile enough. And it kept coming up over and over again, and to the point where I said, okay, let's put that in the job description. We need to make it measurable. How many times do they need to smile each day? And then, it helps them understand that that's not really a requirement of the role. So when Teresa talks about, the correct way to do a job posting, making sure you're not using words that might screen out people. We want to have job descriptions at the core responsibilities of the role are consistent, and we're asking the same questions of each applicant. So we're comparing apples to apples. I mean, the best thing you could do is to bring in people from different sectors, from different backgrounds, from different education levels. That helps you avoid a lot of sometimes that happens, groupthink. And especially right now when organizations need to be innovative, you need as many people coming to the table with different ideas as possible.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The culture fit has always been a problem for me, working with companies all over the greater Seattle area. They weren't a fit. That tells me you're looking for more of the same. You're looking for more of what you already have. So culture add, what are you missing on your team? What viewpoints could you use? One of my coworkers phrased it like this: it's not about how the world sees me. I'm a over 40 woman, right? It's about how I see the world, beyond being, what you see on the surface. I'm originally from a different part of the country. I grew up in Louisiana and, moved out to the West Coast and fell in love with it. So I see the world a little bit differently than maybe somebody who's, always lived in Seattle and went to school in Seattle. I will tell you too, the culture add and the diversity, and really getting down to, does someone really need to smile a lot to work on a production line? Is that required? It's not. I had the most wonderful experience with one of my clients just last week. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen a client do. They're hiring for a fairly entry-level accounting role in their organization because they're growing so much. They are a nonprofit, so they really, their values are truly around diversity, equity, inclusion, helping members of our society who've been marginalized. And two of the candidates who we had in process, English is not their first language. There is a little bit, definitely strong accents, potentially a slight language barrier where occasionally they needed things to be rephrased. And at the end of that round of interviews, the client said, hey, I really think there's more skills here that we couldn't uncover. Like, those interviews didn't go well. What if we come back to the table? What if we give you 2 or 3 more questions that we didn't ask? You have the candidates write down their answers. Let's have them write down their answers so that they can really articulate some experience and some examples of what they've done. And let's do this again. Let's come back. And I'm getting emotional just talking about it. So that's what we did. We came back to the table, and the candidates were more confident. Their written skills were quite impressive. And since they had the time to really think about things, they could, really shine in the interview process. And ultimately, the candidate that they went with in hiring was one of the candidates who originally was perceived as having a language barrier.